Dear friend, welcome back to our journey through Moses, the servant of God. In this chapter, we witness a major turning point in Israel's story. After nearly a year at the foot of Mount Sinai, the time had come to move forward. Their time at Sinai had been long 11 months, to be exact. Long enough for the seasons to pass, for desert flowers to bloom and fade, and for the once fleeing crowd of former slaves to become something more, a people, a nation. When Israel first arrived at Sinai, they were tired, scattered and disorganized. But when they left, they had become a disciplined, covenant-centered people. They had received laws that would one day inspire entire civilizations. They had priests, regulations, a tabernacle, and above all, the presence of God dwelling in their midst. At the heart of their camp stood the sacred tabernacle, surrounded by orderly rows of tents. Poets would later describe it as gardens by the riverside, or like cedars beside the waters. The Levites and priests formed an inner circle, while the 12 tribes were arranged in formation 3, tribes on each side surrounding the tabernacle like living walls. When the time came to move, the cloud of God's presence lifted from the tabernacle. Silver trumpets sounded, and the great camp began to march. Leading the way was the tribe of Judah, followed by Issachar and Zebulun. Then came the Levites of the families of Gershom and Merari, carrying the heavy framework of the tabernacle on wagons. Behind them marched the tribes of Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. Then the Kohathites came, bearing the sacred vessels on their shoulders. And finally, Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin, Dan, Asher, and Naphtali closed the line. What a sight it must have been. A vast living procession, filled with order, purpose, and the presence of God. But even with all this preparation, Moses still felt a need, a longing, a very human one. You see, during their stay at Sinai, Moses had been visited by Hobab, a Midianite chieftain and his own brother-in-law. Hobab was the son of Reuel, the priest of Midian. He was family, and Hobab knew the wilderness. He had grown up in it. He knew the terrain, the hidden springs, the safest campsites, the quickest routes. Moses had wandered this desert himself for 40 years, but it was still unfamiliar ground to many of the people. So Moses asked Hobab to come with them. He said, "As written in Numbers chapter 10 verse 29, we are journeying to the place which the Lord said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will do you good." Then in Numbers chapter 10 verse 31, Moses added, "Please do not leave us. You know where we should camp in the wilderness, and you can be our eyes." This request was heartfelt. Moses was a man chosen by God, but he was also deeply human. He had faced many trials alone. Having someone like Hobab, a friend, a guide, family would bring comfort. But this request was also surprising. Israel had been called to live as a separate people. Even the pagan prophet Balaam later declared in Numbers chapter 23 verse 9, "Lo, the people shall dwell alone and shall not be reckoned among the nations." They had been commanded not to mix with neighboring peoples. Their customs, clothing, and worship all set them apart. Outsiders rarely entered their ranks unless they fully embraced Israel's faith. So why did Moses, the great lawgiver, invite a Midianite into their company? Maybe it was because the unknown still felt overwhelming. The path ahead was new. The risks were real. And sometimes, when we don't know what lies around the next bend, we want someone next to us who knows the way. Moses said in Numbers chapter 10 verse 32, "Whatever good the Lord does for us, we will share with you." Let's pause here and reflect. Don't we all long for a Hobab sometimes? Someone who's walked the road ahead, someone we can lean on. We seek that in mentors, in experienced friends, in tradition, even in our own reasoning. And there is wisdom in seeking counsel. Proverbs says in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. But we must remember something: these human guides are gifts, not replacements. God must always be our true guide. He alone sees the end from the beginning. He alone leads us not just by paths, but by promises. Now, Hobab wasn't excited by the offer. He replied with a flat refusal. In Numbers chapter 10 verse 30, he said, "I will not go. I will return to my own land and to my kindred." Why did he say no? Perhaps it was the recent events. Not long before, Aaron's sons had been struck down for offering unauthorized fire. The community was shaken. God's holiness had been made terrifyingly clear. Or perhaps Hobab simply didn't want to give up his free life as a desert nomad. He wasn't ready to follow a people bound to a holy law and a long journey. Whether or not Hobab eventually changed his mind, we do not know for sure. But one thing is certain. God responded with something even greater. From that point on, The Ark of the Covenant no longer remained in the middle of the camp. It moved to the front. The Ark, symbolizing God's presence, went ahead of the people, preparing the way. Numbers chapter 10 verse 33 says, "And the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord went before them in the 3 days' journey to search out a resting place for them. And each time the Ark set out, Moses would pray, 'Rise up, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered.' And when the Ark rested, he would say, 'Return, O Lord, to the many thousands of Israel.'" Those words are found in Numbers chapter 10, verses 35 and 36. What a comfort this is for us. You may not have a Hobab in your life. Maybe you've lost someone you trusted, or maybe you feel completely alone on your journey. But God goes ahead of you. His presence prepares your path. His grace chooses your resting place, and His promises surround you in the desert. Jesus is our Ark. He has gone before us through life, through death, through resurrection, and He waits on the other side to welcome us home. 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 12 says, "I know whom I have believed, and am persuaded that He is able to keep what I have committed unto Him against that day." Isaiah chapter 28 verse 16 says, "He that believes shall not make haste." So today, walk carefully. Follow God's lead. Let there be space between your decision and His direction, so you can see clearly where He is pointing. And know this, you are not alone. Thank you for joining us today for chapter 22, the start from Sinai. Subscribe to our channel. We're walking daily through the spiritual journey of Moses and beyond. We'll see you in chapter 23.